Tonight on SportsCenter, the focus shifts once again to New York, where a new storyline is gaining momentum. The Knicks are reportedly exploring the possibility of pursuing Lauri Markkanen. For a franchise looking to take the next step in the Eastern Conference, this would represent far more than just another addition. It would be a statement move. Markkanen isn't simply another scorer. He's an all-star caliber forward whose versatility and skill set could immediately change the ceiling of this roster. For years, the conversation around the Knicks has revolved around stability, defensive grit, and the star power of Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. But in the modern NBA, it takes more than that to contend for a champion. Under new head coach Mike Brown, there's a noticeable shift in philosophy, one that prioritizes balance, offensive versatility, and unlocking different lineup combinations. And that's where Markkanen's name comes into play. Standing at 7 feet tall with the ability to stretch the floor, Markkanen brings a rare combination of size and shooting. Last season in Utah, he averaged over 23 points and 8 rebounds per game, while hitting nearly 40% from three. That kind of efficiency from a player his size creates nightmare matchups for opposing defenses. The Knicks have long needed a true floor-spacing forward to open up lanes for Brunson and Randle, and Markkanen fits that description perfectly. But the intrigue doesn't stop with offense. While Markkanen isn't known as a lockdown defender, his combination of size, length, and mobility gives New York an entirely new layer of flexibility in its rotation. At 7 feet tall with the agility to move laterally, he isn't the type of big who gets played off the floor in modern matchups. He can slot in next to Julius Randle at the 4, giving New York a front court with 2 strong rebounders who can also stretch defenses with perimeter shooting. In small ball looks, he can slide over to the 5, punishing slower centers on the perimeter while still holding his own on the glass. And perhaps most intriguingly, he can play alongside Mitchell Robinson, pulling opposing big men away from the paint and creating more space for Brunson and Randle to attack inside. That type of versatility has been missing from the Knicks' front court for years, and it's exactly why these front office discussions around his fit have started to intensify. The reality, though, is that this kind of move doesn't come easy. Unlike chasing a free agent, acquiring Markkanen would almost certainly require a trade package filled with valuable pieces. That means the Knicks would need to weigh not only which draft picks they're willing to part with, but also which young players could be included in negotiation. This is where the decision gets complicated. On one hand, New York has been methodical about building its depth and stockpiling assets precisely for a moment like this. On the other hand, pushing those chips in for the wrong player could stall their progress and leave the roster thin in the long term. This is the crossroads the Knicks find themselves at. Markkanen isn't just another solid starter. He's a 20-plus point scorer, an all-star caliber talent, and a player who changes the geometry of the court on both ends. The Knicks front office has to decide, is he the kind of star worth cashing in their flexibility for? Or do they hold their assets in reserve, waiting for a different superstar to hit the market? Every move has consequences, and this one would define not just the rotation for next season, but the trajectory of the franchise for years. And fans, that's why this report matters. This isn't simply about adding another name to the roster. It's about defining the direction of the franchise. If the Knicks truly believe their window to contend is now, then Markkanen might be the missing link between being a playoff fixture and becoming a legitimate championship threat. He's the type of player who can tilt matchups in New York's favor, the type of piece you add when you're ready to go all in. The front office knows it, the league knows it, and now the debate shifts to whether the Knicks are ready to make that leap. Shout out to the latest reports that have been circulating across the league, because they've given us a clearer perspective on how Lauri Markkanen could potentially fit into New York's plan. And here's the thing, unlike other names the Knicks have monitored in the past, Markkanen doesn't just bring a niche skill. He's the kind of player who can shift the identity of a team overnight. When you look at this roster right now, after Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, the Knicks don't really have a forward who combines size, shooting, and mobility at an elite level. OG Anunoby provides defense and toughness. Randle provides scoring inside and out. But Markkanen is in a different category because of how seamlessly his offensive skill set could complement everything around him. His ability to knock down threes off the catch, create shots off the dribble, and rebound at a high level makes him a rare weapon in today's NBA. Now, here's where it gets complicated. For New York to land Markkanen, they'll likely have to give up meaningful assets. Utah knows his value. They're not letting go of a 7-footer who can stretch the floor at nearly 40% from deep without demanding significant draft compensation and possibly a rotation player in return. That's why this isn't just a question of talent. It's a question of timing and cost. Are the Knicks willing to pay the price now, even if it means sacrificing depth? Or do they hold steady, keep their assets, and wait for another superstar to hit the market? Markkanen's fit, though, is what makes this debate so fascinating. Imagine a starting lineup with Brunson, Anunoby, Markkanen, Randle, and Robinson. That's size, scoring, rebounding, and versatility all in one group. And here's the kicker. With Markkanen's ability to space the floor, Randle wouldn't be forced to operate in a clogged paint, and Robinson would have even more room to thrive as a rim protector and lob threat. In playoff situations, when spacing and matchup hunting become critical, having a 7-footer who can step outside and hit threes consistently could be the difference between falling short and breaking through to the final. But let's also acknowledge the bigger picture. The Knicks are already being mentioned among the East's top contenders, sitting just behind teams like Boston, Milwaukee, and even Cleveland in some projections. Odds makers at FanDuel, for instance, list New York right in the thick of the race, which tells you one thing: expectations are real. And if you're being viewed as a legitimate threat, you can't afford to stand pat. You have to operate like a contender. That's why the Markkanen discussion has legs. The risk, of course, is depth. Moving for a player of his caliber could thin out the second unit. And Mike Brown is a coach who values rotations that are balanced defensively and offensively. Sacrificing too much depth could leave holes, particularly against teams that love to push the pace or attack mismatches. But when you weigh that against the upside of adding a 7-foot all-star who perfectly complements Brunson and Randle, it's hard not to see why this front office is intrigued. Ultimately, the Knicks know what's at stake. Adding Lauri Markkanen isn't just about raising the floor of this team, it's about raising the ceiling. It's about giving Brunson another reliable weapon, giving Randle more space to operate, and giving Mike Brown the kind of lineup flexibility that keeps opposing coaches awake at night. If New York believes their window is now, this is the type of bold, calculated swing that could push them from being in the conversation to being at the center of the championship race. He wouldn't just be a filler piece, he'd become a trusted contributor, someone Mike Brown could call on without second-guessing. For a young big still finding his way in the league, that kind of opportunity is massive. It's not just about logging minutes, it's about showing the coaching staff and the fan base that he belongs, that he can hold his own when the pressure's on. If Huck Porty can deliver steady rebounding, rim protection, and hustle plays, he immediately earns credibility in a rotation that doesn't have much margin for error. This is where the intrigue kicks in. Brown has already made it clear that he values players who bring consistency and effort every single night. Huck Porty doesn't have to put up flashy numbers. He just has to be reliable. Do the dirty work, protect the paint, and make life easier for the scorers around him. If he can lock into that role, he's not only carving out minutes this season, he's building a foundation for a long-term spot in New York's plan. But of course, nothing is guaranteed. This league is competitive, and opportunities like this can vanish in an instant if a player doesn't capitalize. That's why these next few months are so crucial for Huck Porty. Training camp, preseason, early season minutes, those are his auditions. If he steps in and proves he can be the guy behind Robinson, it changes the outlook of the Knicks' front court rotation completely. Instead of scrambling whenever Robinson is sidelined, the team would have a young, energetic big they can trust. Now I want to hear from you, Knicks fan. Do you think Huck Porty has the inside track to lock down that backup center role? Or is there someone else who could surprise everyone and leapfrog him in the rotation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to see where the fan base stands on this. And before you head out, if you enjoyed today's breakdown, do me a quick favor, hit that like button. It really helps push this content out to more Knicks fans. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you never miss any of the latest updates. We've got a lot more coming this season, and trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. That's going to do it for today's episode. Take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and most importantly, take care of each other. Until next time, peace and love.